You're a full-time driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and you're also a broadcaster on NBC. Do you think that commitment of being a broadcaster has hurt your ability to become a full-time NASCAR Cup Series driver?
Um, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I really didn't have a choice, right? So I I when I made it to Cup in 2014 with Swan Racing, my sponsorships and funding had come to a stop. Um, I had to take the leap to being in a ride that was uh that I had to be a professional driver. That was the end of it. I had to take a ride. It was the only option. I had done, I thought, an amazing job in my Cup debuts in 2013. I had great stellar results across the the lower series. If the Xfinity Series in 2013 was what it is now with the Cup driver restrictions and such, I think I finished, and the playoff format, I think I finished second in the championship that year with multiple wins. So I think that when Swan Racing folded, I had the opportunity to continue in some lesser funded cars, but I wasn't enthusiastic about that at the time. If you look at what I was doing and the results I had, to be getting zero interest from the highest level of the sport was really a frustrating thing. And I was 23 years old. I dedicated my life to this. And, there I was. I felt like performing at the highest level. I think I finished 1 point behind Kyle Larson, and yet I couldn't even get a meeting with a Cup team aside from Swan. And that was just really frustrating and really I think at the time a disappointing thing. I just didn't feel like I had anything that was should have been a major detriment to me getting those opportunities or those meetings. And so I, chose to not take those lesser rides because I felt like, what was the point, right? No one would even call me or talk to me that was the higher levels, the more well-funded rides and that sort of thing. And so I was just sort of just disenchanted with the sport. And, a couple months later, I get a call from NBC Sports asking if I'd like to do television. And I thought, okay, I'll do this. This is different, right? This is a way to flip the script. My thought was, I'll go do this. I will, I guess, build my notoriety, my name, because I had been told by a very prominent person that I didn't make any headlines. And therefore I felt like, okay, this is a chance to change that. And I'll go do this and I'll find myself in a top Cup ride here soon. And I did it. One thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was doing more TV than driving, obviously. And, I think eventually it did open doors for me. But it wasn't at the Cup level, right? It was in trucks and it was in Xfinity, and thus became, a thing where I was doing both and mixing them together. And that was a unique position to be in the sport. But the driving really kept me enthusiastic about the TV side. I think I would have really struggled in my mid-20s to do the TV side if I didn't at least get to drive the amount I did. Because that frustration with the sport and that frustration with the way I felt like I was, not given many chances at the top would have, I think, been a hindrance to me really, being able to put my full effort behind the TV side. But thankfully I was able to find ways to race, and that kept me enthusiastic about it. And it led to this opportunity of big machine racing. And, it did eventually grow my notoriety and my position in the sport. And, I think that became a very unique path.